Gustavo Ribeiro joins me now from Sao Paulo. He's a journalist who's covered Brazilian politics extensively. He's also the founder and editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Report. Gustavo, how likely is it that at this point Bolsonaro will face criminal charges?
Well, in the short term, it's complicated to predict anything because the prosecutor general has been aligned with Bolsonaro ever since Bolsonaro named him to the job in 2019. Also, the fact that indicting a president requires a lot of legal hoops, which include a green light from the Supreme Court and a vote by a 60% majority in the House. However, when Bolsonaro leaves office, which according to polls is likely to be on January 1st, 2023, then he would be fair game for lower level prosecutors because he would no longer have the privileges of the presidency.
Bolsonaro failed to take this pandemic seriously. That we know. He joked about it, was dismissive about its severity, in fact called it a little flu. Now more than 600,000 Brazilians are dead. When you talk to people there, who do they blame for so many lives lost?
Well, Bolsonaro and the government overall are the main culprits, according to Brazilians, and poll shows that. However, I would mention that Bolsonaro's terrible approval ratings, which are the lowest for a first-term president that was elected, not counting replacement presidents, it's the lowest when compared to his predecessors. It's more connected to the economic woes that the country is facing. We are seeing poverty rates skyrocketing, inflation is eroding families' purchasing powers, and we have a looming energy crisis. Those factors tend to continue and to even get worse, and I think that will be the main thing that voters will judge Bolsonaro on.
Gustavo, Bolsonaro for himself has called this investigation politically motivated. Does he have a case, considering the majority of senators on this committee are some of his staunchest critics?
Well, the committee is a Senate committee made by politicians, and of course there's the political element to it. But throughout the 6 months, the committee has raised hard evidence with documents, with testimonies that prove that the government deliberately botched the pandemic response. Health Ministry minutes show that the government, as early as May 2020, knew that lockdowns were the better choice, not only health-wise, but economically-wise, because they would allow Brazil to reopen its economy quicker than through this herd immunity strategy that the government seemed to have put in place in Brazil. So, of course, there is some theatrics in Congress, and that may give the impression to some that this inquiry was politically motivated, but there is a lot of hard evidence that shows wrongdoing by the administration.
Our correspondent Paulo Cabral touched on this just a little bit. If you could expand on what happens next, what is next in this investigation, in this process for Bolsonaro himself?
Well, the committee has only powers to recommend indictments and recommend criminal investigations. Now the ball is on the court of prosecutors and the federal police. So it depends on how these institutions that are meant to provide checks and balances will operate. And I mean, this almost 3 years with Bolsonaro in office, they have not been up to the par. It doesn't mean that they will continue like that, especially because the president looks like his re-election is as unlikely as ever. So that tends to cause a lot of defections. We will have to wait and see, but it depends on whether or not prosecutors will pick up on where senators have left.